Whoa, hold up, what the fuck was that? Acorn nipples? Oh, fuck me, this is gonna blow. Fuck this movie. No, seriously, fuck this movie. Fuck this movie to hell and back, and fuck everything in it. It has been so long since a movie in theaters insulted my intelligence to such a pathetic degree. Ice Age Collision Course is a goddamn epic fail. It's worse than Dawn of Justice. It's worse than Independence Day Resurgence. It's worse than Ghostbusters. Fucking Ghostbusters! Ooh. It is literally the sorriest excuse for a film I've watched all year. I didn't even have any plans to watch this movie. None whatsoever. The only reason I even went to watch this travesty was because my mother pre-ordered the tickets thinking that by some chance that it would be good, and I figured that it would be wrong to let her suffer through this torture by herself. You think The Secret Life of Pets is uninspired for being a blatant ripoff of Toy Story? Try watching 15 minutes of this fucking film without succumbing to the torture of ripping out your own occipital lobe. To save yourself from further exposure to this franchise's increasingly unwatchable laziness. Oh god, I am so pumped up with rage right now and I haven't even started talking about the movie yet. And I know what some of you are thinking. Why do you care so much, Map? You knew that this movie was going to be bad. You're acting like you had some kind of expectations for it. Let me tell you, I was shocked. I was surprised by how awful this movie was. I knew that something bad was going to come out of continuing a franchise that didn't need any further continuation, but you have no idea. It's not only bad, it's animated atrocities bad. I am seriously hoping that I get to do a collab with MisAnthro on this film someday. So let's not waste any more time as I rip into this piece of mammoth ass. Scrat is looking for a place to store his acorn when he comes across an alien ship. Yeah, aliens are a plot point in the Ice Age franchise now, and ends up causing all sorts of mayhem and destruction. One action ends up sending a giant meteor heading towards Earth, while down on Earth, Manny has forgotten his anniversary with Ellie. Yeah, the forgotten anniversary. You know that one. The storytelling trope that was never good, and to this day I am still baffled as to why storytellers even use it in the first place. Suddenly a meteor shower starts hurling down on our heroes, not killing any of them, which would have ended this film a lot quicker, as Buck ends up returning to the surface to tell everyone that it's all part of a prophecy. Yeah, there's prophecies in the Ice Age franchise now, and the movie never tells us how the prophecy even got there, or if it was just a piece of technology that the aliens left there to fuck with anybody who may have come across it. But regardless, Buck tells the crew that they have to travel to the meteor's landing site in order to find clues to learn about how they can stop it. And along the way, we have to suffer through so many not fun to watch subplots, like Sid trying to find a love interest, Ellie and Manny being overly clingy to their daughter, Manny having a problem with Jillian, which is also another overused cliche that I never understood why people use, and a trio of villainous flying dinosaurs with a master plan so fucking stupid that the movie itself literally announces it. And by the way, stating the problems that are in your movie does not make them go away, and the movie does nothing to make them go away. You're forced to sit through every single one of them until the end credits, and you go to the front counter for a refund for your time that was wasted. Now, before anything else happens, I know that there was a spaceship in the first movie, but it wasn't used as a plot point. It was used as a visual gag, like it was supposed to be. Yeah, that's how low this franchise has sunk. It has ran out of ideas so badly that it is now making plot points out of one-off gags. And aside from that, this one-off gag revolves entirely around Scrat trying to get his acorn. And it is constantly interrupting the main plot throughout the course of the film. And for the record, these scenes that the Ice Age franchise loves to use to help market the movie, the scenes where Scrat tries so desperately to get that acorn as hilarious hijinks ensue, it's a tired joke. It's not funny anymore. They've been doing this for 5 films, and they seem to think that it's so funny still that they are now devoting entire fractions of the movie to it. We know by now that Scrat is never going to get that acorn, so why do you insist on shoving this subplot down our throats? And it is done in the worst way possible in this film. Every other time they cut back to Scrat, he ends up doing something that makes things better for the characters or worse for the characters, whatever the plot demands. This is beyond any bad writing that the franchise has ever had up to this point. The Scrat cutaways have been turned into plot devices. And worse still, they get way too much screen time. Remember in the first movie where they were only a couple of seconds long and they were only over a minute at the beginning and end of the movie? Yeah, well here, the Scrat cutaways get entire minutes, entire scenes dedicated to it, because they are now depending on these cutaways as a cop-out to fill out the movie's runtime. It's like they knew that they couldn't properly make a 90-minute story, so they start relying on the Scrat cutaways to occupy our time with lame-ass jokes and cringy visual gags. This might not have been so bad, except none of it is funny. It's all being used just to extend the movie's length. And it didn't have to even be this way. You could have just left Scrat on Earth while the meteor was heading towards Earth. At least that way, the cutaways wouldn't be degraded into plot devices. And you know what the sad part is? The Scrat cutaways aren't even the worst part of the film. That honor goes to absolutely everything else in it. The pacing is so off. It is so bad that they cannot properly decide how fast or how slow they want the movie to progress. At some points, they speed up the travel in order to get everybody to the landing site as quickly as possible, and at other times, they are padding everything out with lame-ass jokes. You know what? The movie didn't even need the Scrat cutaways to get its filler across, because there is already so much of it in this film without them. Every time you want the movie to focus on the group traveling over to the meteor site, they end up throwing more and more jokes at you in some desperate attempt to make you laugh. And the jokes themselves, the comedy throughout this entire movie, none of it is passable. They're too awkward, too predictable, too childish, and too badly timed to even be remotely humorous. Even the visual gags are so unenergetic and so sloppy that you don't laugh at them, you just stare at them with a blank glare, wondering how anybody could have possibly thought that any of this would be good. And the fucking toilet humor. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I've never been a fan of toilet humor, as I don't really get what people find funny in the use of toilet water or urination or poop or flatulence. But if I was a fan of that type of humor, I would probably hate the toilet jokes in this movie even more. Nothing creative or witty or unexpected is done with them. They throw in toilet humor just because they want toilet humor in the movie. They put a turd in the corner of the screen just because they want the audience to see a turd. Oh yeah, that's the image I want in my head while eating popcorn and drinking soda. The characters are bland and annoying. They are so bland and annoying. Whatever complexities or interesting personalities that they may have had in the first and maybe the second movie are long since gone. In fact, the bastardization of the characters is so horrible that it's completely insulting to what they used to be like. Remember how Manny started out, how he was completely traumatized by the loss of his first family and it turned him into a loner? But despite that, he was able to develop a lifelong friendship with Sid and Diego, and he was able to forgive the humans enough to reunite the baby with his father. And in the second movie, he's able to find love again, and he moves on from the tragedy that struck him in his past. Yeah, remember how good those things were? Remember how compelling they were as story arcs for Manny's character? Get the fuck out of here, because now he is an insufferable moron who is subjected to not one, not two, but 3 horrendous storytelling tropes. The idiotic husband who forgets his anniversary, the overclingy parent that doesn't allow their child to be independent, and the father-in-law that hates the guy who's dating his daughter for no fucking reason. I mean, from an audience viewing standpoint, I don't like the character because he's uninspired, his dialogue is horrendous, and he tries to be cool and hip, and it only comes across as cringy and awkward. But from an in-universe character standpoint, Manny has no reason to hate Julian. He seems to be very loyal, responsible, and loving towards his daughter, and he doesn't do anything wrong aside from just being an annoyance towards me. And the unfortunate implications lead me to believe that Manny isn't even happy enough for his own daughter. Him not being comfortable with Peaches experiencing the same happiness that he's gotten from Ellie? What a complete hypocrite! And speaking of Ellie, she doesn't have any interesting characterizations either. At one point, she's around just to agree with Manny's over-clingy attitude, and to set up that fucking forced forgotten anniversary plot point that's resolved as quickly as it shows up. In fact, now that I really think about it, none of the characters in this film are utilized properly. Diego and Shira are just kind of standing around doing nothing important. Sid and his grandmother are idiots who don't do anything funny. Even Buck, the comeback character that everybody thought was going to be the movie's saving grace, is degraded into an overly wacky and overly awkward character who just repeats the same stuff throughout the entire movie. Like, every single line of dialogue out of him is just exposition. And Crash and Eddie, oh my god, Crash and Eddie, these two are by far the worst fucking characters in the entire movie. Annoying? No, mosquitoes are fucking annoying. These two are a glimpse into hell. Every single time they're on screen, they spew horrendous dialogue, lame-ass jokes, and sheer annoyance. Their filler is 10 times worse than the Scrat filler. Nothing they do is funny or charming or witty, and they don't even work off of any of the other characters properly. You just want to jump into the screen and wring their fucking little necks. The new characters we meet at Geotopia aren't interesting in any way. The 3 flying villain dinosaurs are completely pointless to the plot. The only characters that are kind of tolerable are Peaches and Julian, as all they want is to survive the incoming cataclysm so that they can live happily married lives together. I mean, they're not interesting and they don't really do anything of value for the audience, but they have better motivation than everybody else in this fucking film. And the subplot where Sid wants a love interest because he's the only one without one and they figured that they might as well give him one for the sake of this movie, it is completely phoned in. In the beginning, it's only there for a couple of minutes, and after that, it's completely dropped throughout the majority of the plot. In fact, it's so phoned in that they don't even take time to develop any real chemistry between Sid and Brooke. They just put the two together and they decide that they want to get married after only knowing each other for 14 minutes. Pikachu and Baneri from the Pokemon anime had more chemistry. One of the worst things about the movie by far, aside from the characters and the Scrat cutaways, is the tone that it sets, especially when you compare it to the first film. I mean, what is this bullshit? Alien spaceships, legendary prophecies, magical stones that grant everlasting youth? Would you have ever believed that this franchise started out with a solemn story about a trio of misfits who have to reunite a baby with his father after he got separated from his herd and his mother had to sacrifice herself to save him? And that's not even including all of the pathetic ways that this movie tries to pander to younger audiences, with lame cultural references and talks about being gangsta and hip and being cool, my brother from another mother, and all sorts of modern dialogue that doesn't fit with the time period this movie is set in. And for a movie where the main premise is preventing the world from being destroyed by a giant meteor, the movie doesn't do anything exciting with it. It fails to capture any form of tension. I guess because they were so busy wasting their time failing to be funny that they couldn't do anything exciting with the premise that they were even given. It's done so badly that half the time you forget that the premise is even about a meteor that's about to destroy the Earth. Even the posters don't even look like they're trying. Like, are they going to have the characters stare each other down to foreshadow the conflict that's going to escalate between them? Or tease the audience with one of the movie's key locations with a beautiful painting to show them how much fun it will be to explore this world? world? Or maybe they'll feature all of the key characters and settings and themes in one go to really capture the spirit of the movie with one poster? Fuck no, let's just have all of the characters blatantly staring at us with stupid derp faces. And let's show off their unattractive asses and play around with puns with that whole kiss your ice goodbye bullshit, because people will think that it's funny. I'm not even gonna bother wasting my time talking about the animation, whether it's good or bad, because at this rate, it's a completely moot point. A good story can save bad animation, but good animation cannot save a bad story. And this movie has such a bad story, I was seriously thinking about walking out of the theater and spending the rest of my time at the movies in the bathroom stalls. Disney's traditional hand-drawn 2D animation could come back from the grave and work on this movie, and it would still be fucking horrendous. I don't even know why I bothered making a review for this movie. You already know that it sucks, and there are people out there who have already done it for me. Of all the bad and mediocre movies that I've seen this year, I still found something that I ended up liking about them. There was something that I surprisingly liked about each one of them, and it gave me the belief that it wasn't a complete waste of my time. But with this movie, there were no surprises here. It gave me exactly what I thought I was going to get. A horribly put together cartoon with no interesting characters, no funny humor, no balanced pacing, and no reason to even exist. There are other animated movies that Blue Sky Studios have done, even sequel-wise, that are more deserving of my time than this piece of crap, and certainly more deserving of my mother's hard-earned money. And I solemnly swear that this video is the last nail in this movie's coffin for anybody with even remote curiosity. I told you this when I got back from Ghostbusters, and I'm telling you now. Do not waste your money on this movie. Do not suffer in the same way that I suffered. Ice Age Collision Course can suck my ass. Period. MisAnthro Pony. Over and out.